On the 17th of May 2000, Canada experienced one of the worst public health disasters in the Walkerton E. coli outbreak. More than 2,000 fell ill and 7 passed. Many were left with chronic illnesses. The outbreak was caused by contamination of the town's drinking water due to a combination of environmental factors and human failures. In late April, early May, heavy rainfall washed cattle manure into the aquifer feeding well 5. It was closest to ground level, making it susceptible to contamination. The manure caused the water to be contaminated with E. coli and Campylobacter jejuni bacteria. Well 5 was run by the Walkerton Public Utilities Commission, the PUC. The two main operators of the PUC, brothers Stan and Frank Cobell, were later found guilty of negligence in falsifying records. Stan and Frank Cobell failed to follow proper water testing and chlorination protocols due to their lack of training in water security and management. Stan Cobell knew about the contamination as early as May 15th, but did not disclose it to health officials. These actions resulted in a widespread of deaths and illnesses and led to a $1 billion class action lawsuit, with Stan being sentenced 1 year in jail and Frank sentenced to 9 months of house arrest. The Walkerton outbreak violated countless ethical issues. Failure to protect public health. This obligation was violated in Walkerton when PUC and other responsible parties failed to adequately treat and monitor the water supply. Lack of transparency and accountability. Stan and Frank Cobell knowingly falsified records and withheld critical information about the water contamination from public health officials and the community. Delayed response to the outbreak. Public health officials and local authorities were slow to respond to the outbreak due to the misinformation from the PUC, largely Stan Cobell. The two brothers were grandfathered into their roles. It was assumed that they knew what they were doing due to their time at the PUC and that they didn't require formal training. They were not fully aware of MOE, Ministry of Environment, standards and testing procedures. The MOE standards expected that chlorine levels be held at 0.5 milligrams per liter, whereas well 5 chlorine levels were at a mean of 0.27 milligrams per liter under the two brothers. When the brothers would evaluate the chlorinator to determine chlorine levels, they stated they would often guesstimate chlorine levels. Stan Cobell even tried to cover up the problem when he first found out about the E. coli contamination on the 15th by flushing the system with large amounts of chlorine. We will be analyzing and creating decisions with the philosophy of consequentialism in mind. Consequentialism makes decisions with the consequences of an action in order to come to a decision. Decision 1. The brothers could have requested training at any time in the many years they worked there. Stan was there for over 20 years. Brothers didn't receive proper training and certification regarding water management. They were simply grandfathered into their certifications. Decision 2. The brothers should have left the chlorinator settings to maintain a chlorine level of 0.5 milligrams per liter. Any necessary adjustments could have been made in response to a certain contaminant. Decision 3. Stan Cobell should have immediately told the authorities about the contamination upon finding out about it himself. Before I analyze the three provided decisions, I want you to keep in mind that this analysis of the consequences is from the eyes of the public. I can confidently say that the public might view the consequences of each option differently than Stan and Frank Cobell, the two who inadequately did their job and tried to cover up the results. Consequences of choice 1. Completing training in water management systems would educate the brothers on the importance of water safety as well as appropriate responses relative to test results. In doing this, the brothers were able to protect the water supply of the town correctly and mitigate the results of health hazards arising. If they did their job properly historically, they may have immediately told authorities as they would have had nothing to hide. Consequences of option 2. By following the MOE standard of frequent and precise water testing, Stan Cobell could have recognized the E. coli contamination earlier and adjusted the water systems to react accordingly. Long-term implementation of correct practices may have created a less optimal environment for bacterial growth. Consequences of number 3. By immediately disclosing the results of the May 15th test, the authorities were able to inform the public quickly regarding the imminent health risks posed to them and their water supply. This minimizes the amount of people exposed to contaminated water. In an ideal world, the most ethical choice is number 1, for them to seek training on all standards and machinery to ensure that their job is being done correctly. Had they shown a track record of accurate data management and proper use of standards of procedure, maybe the possibility of a disaster could have been recognized earlier, allowing for fixes to be done to mitigate future risk. Let's say the above factors cannot change the event. Then the most ethical decision becomes to immediately come out regarding the positive test results. Consequentialism relies on considering the consequences of actions. In this case, not telling the public is significantly more harmful and provides significantly more negative consequences than actually telling them. Stan and Frank Cobell were quite frankly selfish. Thank you for listening to this presentation on the Walkerton E. coli outbreak.